So pretty huge demand on my last video regarding the question, should I cover crypto related stocks? Here we are. If you're in the UK, I'm also going to cover the ISAs in terms of tax-free allowances for you to buy stocks and shares. Check your country to see if they have something similar where you can buy into stocks and it is tax-free. Now, regardless of what you think about Bitcoin, it is ultimately a massive industry and miners are required for it to work. There's also other stocks out there that are acquiring Bitcoin and also exchanges out there that you can also buy. Throughout this video, I am going to show you my full portfolio of what I've got so you can keep up to date with it. And I'm going to show you what there is in the market. Everyone's different, but this is my pick. If you'd like me to continue doing videos on this every couple of months, showcasing my portfolio, what's happening within this industry, let me know in the comments, please. But before we go on, this is not financial advice, highly speculative, very, very risky. So first of all, let's talk about what an ISA is. I use Trading 212. There's a link below if you want to join in. However, other platforms are available. It is pretty much a unique thing that you can do this in the UK. Basically £20,000 per year, per calendar year. From April to April, you get 20,000 to put in. You'll see how much is in mine very, very soon. But you pay zero tax. So you can build whatever fund you want, tax-free investment, as you can see. So you do not pay tax. You do not pay tax on gains, dividends as well. Huge. So let's look at Bitcoin miners. Now, yeah, there's roughly, at the moment, give or take, 21 of these publicly listed companies. Now they're all over the place. Most of them have mining equipment over in the US, and roughly at the minute it's $24 billion in terms of a market capitalization. Now you're probably thinking, wow, that's undervalued. You're probably right to say that, but we will go through the technical analysis throughout the end of this video, so please stick around. Do not just skip to it, because in my opinion, this video is going to be long. There's going to be a lot of alpha. I'm going to go through a lot of assets here that I'm certainly buying into and I bought into. I want to showcase what they do. I'm not going to be too deep, too technical, but ultimately I need to give you an idea because this is very different. So as you can see here, Marathon Digital Holdings is the biggest one. There's CleanSpark, Riot and stuff like that. I've never really looked at Phoenix Group, so I don't want to comment too much on it. But there's a lot. There's a lot here and we need to pick through the bones of each one. But the biggest market capitalization company is only $5.44 billion in terms of miners. Coinbase is roughly around $63 billion market cap, but we'll come on to that in a bit. So let's talk about the Bitcoin mining world. Now, for obvious reasons, you can see here's a lot of like wibbly wobbly stuff. You've got operational hash rate, fleet efficiency, how many mining facilities, but also as well treasuries. You've got how many Bitcoins do these hold. Now, Marathon Digital holds a lot. You can see that. Feel free to work out how much money that is. But the thing that you've got to look for in the stock market, which is very different to crypto, is are they efficient? Are they hitting targets? And is everything working out all right? Do they have lots of debt? Have they had any disasters? Whatever. In the real world, it's a little bit different. But Bitcoin in itself, as obviously a mining element, is a massive, massive requirement. But one thing about this, which is huge, every single company that I'm going to show you have different revenue sources through data centers, through GPU stuff. You know, NVIDIA, heard of it, that stock? We'll come on to that in a bit. So regarding obviously this is just giving you an idea. To do your research, you need to look at each miner and you need to look at, obviously, is it undervalued, is it overvalued? Now I'm going to say this, similar to altcoins, the biggest will probably survive. Kind of obvious, really. You don't want to go too low, in my opinion. Not financial advice, of course, but it's kind of obvious, really. When you're looking at multi-billion-dollar companies that are holding lots and they've got no debt, yeah, cool. Financially on paper, they're more stable. That is the element that you need to look for in terms of this. Now, when I go to the technical analysis later on, you're probably going to have a little bit of a hissy fit in terms of the potential here. Now, that's the key thing here. I talked about it before. It's speculative, it's very risky, and there's a lot of potential. But also, they can get eaten alive by other companies, or there could be disasters, there could be weather storms, weather issues with stuff like this, with overheating. There could be failures within the network, and not so much within the network, but ultimately their facility. That could create problems, and other mining facilities could pick up the slack and they could return better returns. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's ultimately not all pink and fluffy that the biggest is going to survive. Not always. So regarding any stock, and I'm just going to show you this as an example, you can go onto their website and you can look at their relations with their investors in terms of the SEC filings, the stock data, the financial information, and what is happening with regarding this. So Marathon Digital very, very recently just put out a press release. I covered it on one of my videos in terms of like how much they've achieved increasing their blocks. You know, their blocks, their available mining rewards grew from 3.2% to 4.2%. You know, stuff like that. They've increased their hash rate and stuff. Yeah, on the contrary, it looks great, but you got to dive a little bit deeper. You don't want to look at missed targets. They actually missed a few targets, what they were expecting, but they did improve. Don't get me wrong. You know, aim for the moon and you hit the sky sort of vibe, but they're doing okay. So stuff like that, not too bad, but it's very, very early in the cycle. So another company to look at is CleanSpark. These are, I believe, one of the bigger ones out there in terms of the US, essentially just solely in the US. Now, I'm very bullish on this, very, very good stock to hold. Not perfectly like in terms of, you know, the numbers, but it is out there in terms of the information that's available in terms of what they're aiming to achieve. CleanSpark aims to be more of a, you know, I wouldn't say perfect, but they're going for the wind, solar, nuclear, hydro approach in terms of carbon neutral. So yeah, very, very buzzwordy, but it's hard. It's hard to achieve that, certainly in the crypto. And if you remember the fact of like obviously cryptocurrency with reality checks of, oh my God, it's like, it's just killing the planet. Not always. So this company, obviously somewhat different, but one of the biggest miners out there. And we'll look at the data in a bit. Now, one of my favorite ones, again, we'll talk about zero carbon futures, is TeraWulf. Really like this company in terms of what they're aiming to achieve. And they're doing actually really, really well. And, you know, when we talk about this, you've got facilities in New York, you've got Pennsylvania and stuff like that, and zero carbon energy. Again, we're talking about a lower market cap coin. This is about $1 billion now. It's been doing very, very well recently. But again, you know, I can talk about this for a long time. But the good thing with this is they've done a video. So with regards to TeraWulf, they've done a video 5 days ago. It's got a decent amount of views. It's doing pretty well, but ultimately it's showcasing one of their New York sites, and it's a tangible element within this whole industry that you're investing in. There's actual stuff happening, which is very different if you're obviously a cryptocurrency investor. Sometimes you don't see or you don't have a tangible product, but it's all here. So yeah, you can watch this video and you can see what they're aiming to achieve. Another popular one that I do like is Riot. Recently, these have bought I think 23% stake in Bitfarms, which is another mining company. And again, we're talking about obviously the value of Bitcoin, creating opportunities, They're all very much similar. These have one of the biggest infrastructures around though. These have got a lot of, you know, sites. They're pretty large. Obviously their website, you know, it's showcasing it all. But if you go to the corporate presentations and you look at all the information, what their bullish case is in terms of where they're aiming to achieve and the targets, you then start to see the entire industry. And obviously this is showcasing it in a very, very simple way. Problem is, we don't know what's going to happen with the world of Bitcoin in terms of like how many sites are they going to have? What's about the energy element to it? Obviously, they have to think of the future. They need to think of obviously trying to be, you know, as I wouldn't say friendly to the environment, but you get the idea. You don't want to be very, very expensive to try and achieve that. So it's all about that. And you also have to look at profit margins in terms of how much is it going to cost to mine a Bitcoin? What about the bear market? All these unanswered questions, but you can see this in terms of the bearish case, the base case, and the bullish case. Either one of these looking pretty damn healthy if you are buying Riot today. And again, when we look at the holdings of long-term holders, you know, we'll talk about this in a bit. Obviously, BTC ETFs are somewhat up here now. You know, the US, China, I think the UK is in there somewhere as well. You know, when we're looking at all this, it's really good. And look at where Riot are. Marathon Digital are here. Coinbase are here. So Hut 8, another thing that I'm going to talk about in a second. This is the element where we're looking at the institutions buying into Bitcoin, but the infrastructure around stock market is getting pretty damn big. So another one is Hut 8. Mentioned it before. They hold a lot of Bitcoin too. They don't do just Bitcoin mining, they do a bit more as well. So you can see here powering the digital ecosystem while supporting the digital economy through high performance computing, cutting edge technology, and digital mining assets. So what they're actually doing, they do a bit of data mining too, which is a little bit different. So when we talk about this, obviously digital assets and obviously high computing stuff. The problem we got with like a lot of these companies, as I said before, we often go, well, what happens in a bear market? Well, some of these actually do certain things. So obviously here, you know, from gaming platforms, GPUs on demand, financial services and disaster recovery as a service, they do more than just crypto, which is huge. So obviously data centers, cloud services, HPC, business continuity, and security and storage. So that is where things get a little bit interesting for this one. So it's a bit more of another play at this one, but I obviously, as you can imagine, part of the whole world for me is obviously the Bitcoin side of it more than anything. So when you go into here, yeah, it's all funky-dory. You've also got here scalable computing via AI technology. And I mentioned it before, GPUs, NVIDIA contracts and stuff like that. Quite a few of them do have NVIDIA technology within, which is probably why they're probably quite a safe bet, realistically, when you think about what could happen in the future. I know all of you want the Bitcoin mining tide. So this is a Bitcoin mining tide. Since 2018, they have been doing digital assets such as Bitcoin. So you can see here, got repair centers, hosted and managed services. You know, I think they've got, got sites in medicine, heart and stuff like that. So they've got quite a few sites too. Now, this one is my best performing one in terms of my portfolio. Again, we talk about NVIDIA, you know, they use this. They also have data centers and they're doing very well. AI is becoming a bit of a thing here. So you might well be very, very early to the AI movement by buying into some of these companies as well, which is relatively huge. So they have facilities all over the place, a lot of it all over America and Canada, which is relatively normal for a lot of these companies. But again, IREN are doing incredible things, and I'm just going to show you something. So this is their most recent update. This came out literally on the 6th of June, and you can see here how many Bitcoins were mined. 816 NVIDIA GPUs currently running right now. Corporation Element, they've got 322 million in cash, zero debt. So they are growing, and this is their expansion timeline here, what they're aiming to achieve throughout, and they're aiming to get operation power even higher. So they've got lofty targets. Their aim is to basically triple to 30, hash rate computing power to mine more Bitcoin and to compete more. So this is, in my opinion, a really, really good one. And you can see here, like, they're actually making AI cloud service revenue, which is, again, another string to the bow. So I know I've talked about a couple of miners. I know for some people you're probably knocked off by now, but there is a good website here called powermininganalysis.com where you can see most of the miners and their information. So you can see the total hash rate. So you see which ones are the biggest ones. You can see how much they've mined. You can see how much they've sold, how much they've held on to as well. Not to mention the revenue and obviously data center elements as well within obviously how much, hash rate they've got. The problem you got is obviously it's going to be very much up and down in terms of this information. This is April 2024, so not perfect data information. Obviously, it's going to be a bit out of date, but you can kind of see roughly what is happening here. Also on this website, you can look at each individual one. So say, for example, if you wanted to look at, I don't know, IREN, you can see all the information on IREN itself currently. As again, it might be not fully up to date, but it may well help you in terms of your initial research to get some initial understandings. Before I go on to the next part of this video, please, if you can, hit that like button. It helps a lot, and subscribe to the channel for further updates on this. So other company stocks to look out for, obviously MicroStrategy. I can't not talk about MicroStrategy, can you? If you look at their chart, it's crazy. Michael Saylor, etc. In terms of their current holdings right now, it's a lot. Over 1% of the holdings are currently done by MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor is flying the flag, and this has also led to other companies do it. Personally, I wouldn't say invest in MicroStrategy. I think it's overvalued now, but I'm just using this as an example to showcase that, well, actually, you may well find now a lot more companies do this, and it might become relatively bullish for those investments to look, relatively good, because when we're looking at where we are now with Bitcoin, institutional investments come in, follow the leader with BlackRock, etc., MicroStrategy, whatever. But it's showcasing that companies are evolving a little bit in terms of how they're managing certain things. Without talking about MicroStrategy, we've also got to talk about Coinbase. I mentioned it before in terms of their holdings. They've got quite a lot, but the top 25 shareholders own over 50% of the companies. That's a very interesting point. We should be aware that the powerful shareholder groups with 44% stakes, institutions poses maximum shares in the company. Put it another way, the group faces maximum upside potential. Okay, they want this to go up, basically. And when we talk about custodians, they are custodians of the ETFs, which are BlackRock, Fidelity, etc. Interesting, I know. So yeah, maybe Coinbase should be on your radar too. And going back a little bit, talked about it before with MicroStrategy. Semler Scientific, which is a medical company, I mentioned this recently on a previous video too. They are buying a bunch ton of Bitcoin. They've currently got a huge $150 million investment plan to buy Bitcoin. They've acquired another 247 additional Bitcoin, a total holdings now of 828. Doesn't sound a lot, but they're just starting. So maybe this stock could be one to look out for if they're going to become the next MicroStrategy. And before we get on to the fact of my portfolio and then look at the technical analysis side of it, Kraken are preparing for a funding round ahead of a possible IPO. So they could well become a public listed company within the next year. So another one, keep an eye on. This is my portfolio. I've got some random dividend stocks here, just a very, very small amount, which is stocks that I want to hold on to later on in life in terms of when I'm going to put my money into them. But we'll showcase what I have. So currently, as you can see here, I've got CleanSpark. Okay, not doing the best at the moment. I have got Hut 8, which is doing okay, 11% up. Iris, which is Iren, doing the best, 77 or 78% up. Marathon Digital up 10%. Riot Platforms is currently down. And then I've got TerraWolf. Not to mention, I also have Coinbase. So, bit iffy, not the best, but some of them are doing all right. But I'm going to show you the technical analysis, and that's kind of the problem here. It is very early, and this is where it gets a bit risky. If you've not yet done so, check out Learning Crypto below. We do a live stream every Friday morning. We basically cover Bitcoin miners all the time, so you get a much more updated information on there. And yeah, you'll enjoy it, trust me. So this is actually CleanSpark. We'll start off with this one first. In my opinion, it's consolidating. But let's do a little bit of a history lesson. I've kind of put it at this point for an interesting situation. If you zoom out, it can go a lot higher. Not massive amount. This is kind of the least riskiest in my opinion. Previous cycle, as you can see here, right? It gets a little bit more interesting when you look elsewhere. When you look at the likes of, say, Hut. This is a previous bull market, right? Yes, there's been stock splits and stuff in certain situations, so be mindful of that. But more often than not, you got to look at certain situations. Now, look at this. You can see where, like, obviously halving was, bear with me, was roughly May last time, give or take around here. It took a bit of a while, then obviously all of a sudden it went up. If you remember this kind of drop down in the previous market, yeah. But look at where the market topped out. Same as Bitcoin, right? So make a note of that. However, do I think we're going to go up to these levels again? Possibly, maybe, don't know. This is the thing, not financial advice. It's hugely speculative, but this is the thing that's interesting. Mentioned at the start of the video, you can, if you're in the UK or other countries, you can buy into these with an ISA. You could make a lot more in terms of traditional market terms on this than you would buying into something else, right? For obvious reasons. It seems a little bit, I wouldn't say daft. Everyone's got a different skill set. But for me, I've noticed not many people talk about Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin related stocks. Also, if you're invested in crypto and altcoins, etc., you should really look at this too. It's kind of obvious, really. So not to give you kind of like hopium, but even going up to there is 150%, right? Even going up to some previous levels of resistance from the past where it rejected is a 4 or 5x in some cases, depending on when you bought. That is a lot in the stock market that could happen in the next 2 years, potentially throughout this bull market. I'm not trying to get you too excited, but if Bitcoin does well, if the halving narrative is still there and the cycles are in the 4-year methodology still, these are undervalued. This is Iren. It's not been around for that long, but ultimately you can see where it kind of tailed off. Obviously November, it was all the way up here when it launched. Yeah, there's some targets. This one could go a little bit more price discovery. This one, as I say, is doing very well, but could go much higher. Marathon Digital, one of the big boys. Again, we look at when it topped out, November time, exactly the same as Hut. Again, we had this big old massive market crash that kind of happened. As I say, it's one of the big boys. It's going to be affected by what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin's going to run to 100K, maybe a bit higher than that, we're probably going to see this shoot up much higher, and you're probably going to get some nice returns. The reason why I say to people, maybe not buy MicroStrategy is because it's all the way up here. It's at stupid prices. So you may want to give it a wide berth, but it's a good one to look out for. Another really good one, as I say, high market cap is Riot. It's one of the more established ones. It is actually buying up more and more infrastructure and stuff like that. It's doing pretty well. Again, there could be a massive return here. I've got high hopes for Riot to do very well, and it could make a 4 or 5x. So it'd be very, very interesting. But as I say, you know, even if you are aiming for all-time highs, it may not get there. But I'd happily take some of these monies in between. The sole reason for me doing it is the tax-free element. I'm not going to get greedy. You've seen how much is in my portfolio. But ultimately, if I can make a couple of years allocation for free, I'm winning. And the final one is TerraWolf. As I say, it's one of my favorite ones in terms of the look of it, the identification markers of how it aims to be more carbon neutral. This one has the most risk to reward, in my opinion, could do incredibly well. Again, be careful of potential stock splits, do your research, but ultimately this one's like about to break out potentially. And I know, if it goes to $43 at its all-time high, which I don't think it will, Gucci. You really are. You really, really are. But as I say, hugely risky. And obviously the final one, Coinbase. Why? Coinbase has not got proof in the pudding yet. It released into the hype of the bull market. It had the correction. Its top is here where the market topped out, 360-ish, give or take. Could well fly much higher than this. It's a $63 billion market cap coin. Well, it's called coin. Coinbase is $63 billion market capitalization as a stock. So how high can it go? Well, you got to look at the obvious thing here. If the entire cryptocurrency industry is roughly 2.53 trillion, where does Coinbase fit into that in terms of the growth? Where does this go? Does this go to $5 or $6 trillion at the end of the bull cycle? Where do all those Bitcoin mining companies go? As I said right at the start of this video, $24 billion. How much growth is in this industry? There we go. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a long one. It's probably over a lot of people's heads. I hope you come back to it in the future and go, oh, wow, education sort of vibes. If you're an investor in the stock market and you've not got any of these, you probably should have. If you're an investor in altcoins and cryptocurrency, you should probably have these. But that's my opinion anyways. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. If you want more updates, again, let me know. And yeah, enjoy.